Young Turks at the RNC, Cenk Uygur, Chad Benson. Chad Benson is a talk show host. Chad Benson shows all across the country, at approximately 2,800 stations, right?
Yes, exactly. It's just a little bit bigger than Rush, but it's okay. He doesn't feel bad about it.
All right, now, Chad, are you conservative? That's what I'm hearing.
You know what I am? I'm me. I am me. There's things on the left that I like. There's things on the right that I like. I'm not beholden to any party. Obviously, you hear talk show hosts, you think conservative. I'm about marriage equality. I'm fine with pro-choice. At the same thing, I like, lower taxes, and I want some immigration reform that's real, and I want to protect our borders. There's lots of things we can agree on.
Yeah, I heard a secret about you that you were reasonable, and here you are trying to be reasonable.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to yell and scream? I don't think that works anymore. People don't want to hear that.
Okay, so now let's then. You're in a unique spot to be able to judge both conventions. So you've now seen this for 3 days. What's your take on it?
It's been a mess, to be completely honest with you. I think you have a finite time to really do something, and you have the political world right there in front of you, and Trump hasn't delivered. And we're talking about his wife's dress, the stolen speech, and then, of course, we're talking about Ted Cruz, and he stole all the thunder from Pence. I just think it's been horribly organized at times, and I just think they've missed the ball. I think tonight Trump will pull something out of the hat, but still, it's just not been good.
Now, on the other hand, I feel like this vitriol, as much as I hate it, might appeal to some Americans who are angry and who say, hey, when is anybody going to stick up for us? And that Trump is pushing them in that direction. Like, I don't think it's justified at all. I don't think that's what Trump's going to do. I think Trump's going to look out for Trump. But he's saying, you're right, you should be angry. And this is all about fear and anger in here. Is there a chance that can work?
Not in the broad base. It's just not going to work. But there are people that are angry, and he's tapped into that. Just like Bernie tapped into people who are frustrated and angry and feel like their world's been taken apart, and they're not a part of it anymore, that they don't matter, that they're little, that they're small, and that not only does their vote matter, their life doesn't matter. And I think Trump has tapped into that, and that anger's definitely there. And we talked to a couple people that are Bernie supporters that are here checking it out because they like Trump too. And again, it's that anger that they've tapped into. But I don't think it can work in broad base. But I understand, and it's a great appeal, but you have to have something underneath it to captivate and grab people that's real, something tangible. And it just can't be, I'm pissed at the world.
Right. So is there anything about Trump that you do like, that you say, okay, okay, I'm with him on that one?
I like the way he speaks his mind. I'm good with that. I think too much anymore, we're afraid to say anything, and I think the truth is stopping us from moving forward, whether it be race relations or any of the other things. I think we need to really be open and honest with each other, and I like the fact that he does some. I like the fact that he's a businessman. I think he's got some good plans, and he wants to do some stuff, but I think he's going to find out, as every president does, you don't have as much power as you really think. But I do like the fact that he is not an outsider. He's an outsider, but not an outsider. He understands the political world. He's been around enough. He knows these people. He knows how to play the game, but he's not beholden to any of them. And the fact that he has a ton of money also means he's probably not going to get bought, which I think is good. It's the same thing with Bernie. People were upset because Hillary's bought and paid for.
So, Chad, who's your ideal candidate?
You know what? Me. No, just my ideal candidate is somebody who is not in a party. Somebody who's real, somebody who can talk to the right, the left, black, white, gay, straight, Christians, Jews, Hindu, everybody, wants the best for the country, wants to protect the Constitution, but also realize that we've got to grow as a nation, and we've come a long way. I still think we've got a ways to go, but we have to look forward now. We can't be looking backwards. That's not going to help us progress anywhere forward.
Do you have a sense of who you're going to vote for yet?
No, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't. I look at Trump and I'm like, you know what? Every night people get mad at me on my show because, I have a lot of conservatives. I have a lot of Democrats. I have a lot of independents, and people get mad. You should vote for Trump. And I'm like, why? He hasn't shown me enough. Gary Johnson. I like Gary. I think his vice presidential candidate would be the ideal candidate.
William Wells.
Wells
governor of Massachusetts.
would be. I think he would be great. But I don't have a sense of who I'm going to vote for.
So, based on the positions you're describing, it does sound fairly libertarian.
Very much so. Very much libertarian. But you know what? I'm not a huge fan of Gary Johnson. I just think he misses the mark on some of the things.
What does he miss the mark on?
Like the big thing we were talking about with coal, he's just like, well, the free market's talked about coal and has chosen to get rid of coal. I'm like, no, really, it's the regulations that got rid of it. I understand where he was trying to go with it, but some of the stuff that he takes, some of the positions, I'm just not a huge fan of. But again, I'm going to look at him. I'm going to look at all of them. We're going to interview him here in the next couple days, and I want to hear what everybody has to really say, not the baloney that's out there.
Would you have considered Hillary Clinton?
I'll consider anybody. I mean, I really will. And I look at Hillary, and I'm going to say this, and I've said this in my... Hillary's not going to destroy the world. Trump's not going to destroy America. None of these people are going to destroy America. The fact is, Hillary is, if it wasn't for Bernie, she's just going to move right back in the center. And the last 4 years is the same thing we got.
Yep.
And that's just it. I mean, it's the same old same. And it's nothing else is going to happen. Your constitutional rights aren't going to go away. But I look over at Trump, and I would like to see more of him. I want to hear what he really has to say. I wasn't a fan of him bringing Pence on. I thought, you know what? You don't do anything, doesn't move the needle. It appeases some people in the party. But I think, right now I'm looking and I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to write somebody in at this point in time.
So, Chad, is there anyone that Clinton could have named as a VP, she's going to name it tomorrow, that would make a difference to you? Where you would say, oh, let me take another look.
You know what? I don't even... I don't think so. I mean, Castro, I've known Castro. I've debated against him on several occasions. He's a good guy. I just don't know if there's anybody really that she can bring that is going to wow anybody. And I don't think it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. I think it's going to be Tim Kaine or somebody like that. Somebody safe and because that's what she is. In the end, she is everything that is establishment, and she can pretend that she's not.
I think that's absolutely right. So, would you have been more open or less open to Bernie Sanders as the nominee?
You know what? I liked some of the stuff Bernie had to say, and I completely agree. I think we've been overbought by lobbyists and in this country, and it drives me crazy. The way the political system is at times is ridiculous, and some of the stuff I was very open to with Bernie. Some of it was a little much. We're not going to, socialized medicine. I lived in it for 10 years, living in Europe. It was horrible.
Where did you live?
I lived in England. I played soccer, and I worked in radio, and it was tough over there. One time I got sick. I had to come to America to get seen by a doctor, and that's the frustration. I'd been there before. Free college it's not realistic. I mean, but I understand we need to bring these things down. These are some of the stuff that bothered me about him. But I understand he tapped in the same thing Trump did. People are angry. They feel like they're being left behind. And he was and the thing I liked about him was just authentic. Whether or not you liked his politics or not, the guy was authentic.
So now, obviously, I disagree with you on some of the policy. I think free education is monumentally important. My dad got a free education. Was a dirt poor olive farmer in the middle of Turkey, and was able to become an engineer and change our lives forever, and made a lot of input into the economy. In the beginning, to the Turkish economy, and then here in America as well. But that's okay. It's perfectly fine to have a bunch of disagreements, as anybody will. But I want to get your vision. That's why we're talking here. So let's get outside of the electoral politics for a second and talk about what would be Chad Benson's ideal world. Like, where do you want the country to go? And then you go, yes, that's it. That's where we need to be.
The ideal world, I think it's pretty simple. You know what? Some accountability for yourself. I want the government to stay out of our lives, but to offer you a hand up if you fall down, not a hammock. I think that we should definitely be pushing to change the education system to catch up to the rest of the world. We need to focus on things like science and things like that, because the world's become more technologically driven. That's where we need to go. I think, as far as, I'm totally fine with pro-choice and as far as marriage equality and things like that, absolutely. I don't care who you love. Knock yourself out. That's the greatest thing in the world. We need to pay taxes, but we can't be ridiculous then, because we're not going to tax our way to prosperity. We need to be smart with them, and we need to get rid of government waste. I think if we can do some of these things, we'll find ourselves in a situation that is far superior than where we are now.
Okay, perfectly reasonable positions, even on the ones that I have slight disagreements with. But if the conservatives start heading in your direction, I think we're going to be all right.
I absolutely do, and I think we need a strong two-party. I've always said we need two-party because they need to keep each other in check.
All right, and where can people find your show?
Go to ChadBensonShow.com, and I'm across the country on about 100 stations or so, 75 stations, something like that.
All right, Chad Benson, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Cenk. Appreciate that.